Hello and welcome to the first installment of Driving with Pops and Son. Pops, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm sitting here on the freeway, and we're having a nice conversation.
Okay, and why are you wearing that Yankee cap?
Well, the truth is, guys and gals, I'm from New York.
Okay, and
I thought the Dodgers were a great team in Brooklyn, which is New York. And I thought the Giants, which had
forget about the Giants. Let's just talk New York. Come on, let's not waste time. Let's get into it. All right, Yankees, Dodgers, right? And the Dodgers are now from where? Where are they from now?
Well, they moved out to the West Coast.
Yes, particularly where was that? I can't remember. Maybe this will jar your memory there. So I'm driving, so I'm going to look forward here, and I know you should look here, stay with everybody, but, let's talk what's happening. World Series, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I distinctly remember you talking about what was your prediction of what was going to happen in the World Series. Tonight is Game 4.
So the Yankees have great hitters.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Judge batted .344, I think.
Okay.
Maybe .342. And he knocked in 144 runs.
With 58 home runs.
With 58 home runs.
Okay, yes. I'm just saying. Yeah, okay.
So I expected the Yankees, with all due respect, to win in 5 games.
Okay. And how is that working out for you?
Well,
By the way, let me preface this by saying, when you said that, I didn't necessarily think you were wrong, because on paper, your team is stacked with some of the toughest lineup imaginable. And your pitching staff was doing great, while the Dodgers kind of struggled to get through the earlier rounds of the playoffs, and you had some injuries that were happening. So, they were kind of a depleted pitching staff with a couple of highlights and a great lineup with, of course, the great Shohei Ohtani, but they were really coming in a little bit limping, like Freddie Freeman was technically limping. Fast forward to now. Those first 3 games that you've seen the highlights of and seen the game, what are your thoughts on what's happened so far in those first 3 games?
Okay. I'm going to start, I'm not going to say blaming, but seeing a mistake made by the Yankee manager.
Okay, let's get into it.
Boone, toward the end of the season, took Aaron Judge out of the game.
Yeah, he did it. He hit 58 home runs, and he was on a roll, right?
He was on a roll. He could have hit another 60, 61, another breaking of the Roger Maris record, replacing the magnificent Ruth in numbers. No one replaced.
And then breaking his own record.
Otherwise.
And breaking his own record.
And he could have broken his own record as well.
Yep.
But Boone mistakenly took him out, thinking, I'll rest him. He doesn't need rest. The result
is crazy,
is,
right?
Aaron Judge always starts out in trouble.
He's cold. So he basically took a hot hitter and made him cold.
And he's not hitting well. And for that reason, the Yankees have lacked its major hitting person.
You and I agree 100%. I remember when he took him out, you and I were wondering, is he hurt? Right? We were talking about it.
Absolutely.
He took forever to get to 56, then he hit 56, and then he went to 58.
Absolutely.
And then didn't let him play for the last few games of the season. Right? And he's occasionally hit because he's an amazing hitter.
Right.
But he's not allowing the pitchers to be concerned about him.
That's
right. So you don't have that, oh my God, I got to get to Aaron Judge next, and so I got to be careful. And then you serve up some great meaty pitchers to those batters. Okay, so that I agree with you 100%. What about? I would actually say, and another knock on your manager, Garrett Cole in Game 1, right? You have the reigning Cy Young guy from last year who's pitching lights out right now. He was going toe-to-toe and was winning the game, and Boone took him out with only 88 pitches.
Yeah.
He took him out of the game, which made no sense, right?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, for a kid from Los Angeles, you're quite honest, and I'm not that other people in Los Angeles aren't honest. I'm sure they are, but you're quite honest about the enemy team, and I'm proud of you for that.
You know, I appreciate the compliment. You know, I do want to point out that you did come to California in the late 1960s. So technically, I think you've lived in California more than New York. But we'll forget about that fact for a second, because, of course, a lot of what happens in sports is you identify with what you grew up with, and you grew up with Mantle and Maris and DiMaggio and Whitey Ford and the legends of old, and you grew up with the Brooklyn Dodgers, right?
Right.
Jackie Robinson, Duke Snyder.
Oh, wonderful.
Right? You saw Koufax and everybody in that era, right?
Right.
And let's talk for a second. Just go back in history a little bit. So, Game 1 of the World Series in 1988, Kirk Gibson comes into pinch hit, can barely walk, and he hits this amazing walk-off home run, Game 1 against the Yankees, right? So now we fast forward, the Dodgers are technically losing in the 10th inning, right? 2 batters on, Mookie Betts is up, who hadn't done an amazing job during that game. He did well, but he wasn't like Freddie Freeman, who earlier had tripled in that game. He tripled, and he ran hard enough to get to third and didn't seem to be limping at all. And you pitch around Mookie Betts to go load up the bases, bring the batters a little closer to pitch to Freddie Freeman. Take me through that. What do you think it was right to put Mookie on to get to Freeman, or do you think Mookie's going to get you anyway?
Well, you know, Mookie Betts is one of my favorite players, even though he's not on the Yankees. I think he is one of the truly gifted guys, absolutely heading for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
And he's small, and that, I mean, in terms of those athletes.
He's a petite player in today's game. You're absolutely right. And he is a great defensive phenom as well, not just an offensive.
Right. And so we have to say that if they pitch to Betts, there's a good chance that he would have done something good.
Yeah.
How good, I don't know. But he would have done something good, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have brought up Freeman, and he would have done what he did.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the Yankees were cooked at that point, because if you pitched to Mookie Betts, I think Mookie was ready. He was locked in.
Yeah,
and maybe he wouldn't have gotten a grand. He couldn't have gotten a grand slam because one of the bases was open. But I think he would have hurt the Yankees.
Right.
But to put him on, load up the bases, put that kind of pressure on your pitcher, right? Not only do you have the game tying, you have the game winning on second base. Not even right.
Right.
So a single probably scores 2 guys. It doesn't seem to make much sense.
Yeah,
for me.
I have to confess, I agree with you. I agree with you.
All right, now moving on to a positive though. The positive, Garrett Cole, phenomenal.
Oh, he's a great pitcher.
And Juan Soto is as dangerous as they can be.
Juan Soto is just approaching the major part of his career. He just turned 26. Until you're 26, 27, you're a little kid. You turn 26, 27, you're at the height of your ability, and that continues into the early 30s, 32 to 34,
so he's positioned for greatness. And
yes.
Yeah. Is he, did he as a rookie win a World Series with the Washington Nationals? I think he may have, right? As a young guy.
Yeah.
I think before he went to San Diego, he won a World Series and then, of course, went to the Yankees and is about to make big bucks. Big bucks.
Yes.
And I know the Mets want him, the Yankees want him, and the Dodgers, if they don't have enough with Shohei, getting Juan Soto would be a little unfair at that point.
I think the Yankees are going to sign him for $500,000.
500,000 or 500 million?
Pardon me, 500 million.
I mean, I don't know that I have 500,000 spare, but I know that I could raise $500,000 in Los Angeles.
See, when I was a kid, 500,000 was a lot of money.
I still think it's a lot of money.
Babe Ruth, after he hit 60 home runs, signed an outstanding contract. I think it was in the 90s, but I used to think it was around 100,000. And a reporter said to him, "Babe, you're getting paid more than the president. Do you think that that's right? The president of the United States getting less than you?" And Ruth answered, "Well, I had a better year than the president."
That is for sure. Although, if you think about money for money in terms of these days, at that time, Palace cost probably $15,000 to $20,000. So, right, salary to purchasing things. So
it's a lot of money.
I actually think now. $1 billion is the same difference of what that is. I mean, I'm definitely not a mathematician.
Yeah,
all right, so game one, game one, I really do think the Dodgers were destined to, at least come close and possibly win or win outright, which they did. But I think for me, it was pulling Garrett Cole out of the game that sunk the Yankees. That's what did it for me. And I agree with you about that Judge was cold. But he did have playoff games in his, he did have a lot of swings up until that point. So I think there's no excuse for him being as cold as he is now. But I do think the end of the season, I agree with you. I think he hasn't recovered from that. And I also think it's probably very frustrating because I do think he could have gotten 60 home runs. So that's kind of annoying as a non-Yankee fan. It's annoying just because he is a hard-working, unbelievable, easily unanimous MVP this year. All right, let's go to game 2. All right, we've got Yamamoto, who I remember you thought would be starting game 1, and you said that Yamamoto would beat the Yankees.
That's right.
And that's what happened. So take me through game 2. You got
he is another great pitcher. He's a very great pitcher. Now I admit he can't hit like Ohtani, but he can pitch, guy. He is, and he adjusts when he sees something wrong with what he's doing. He's very, very bright, and he adjusts his game to make it better.
Do you remember Greg Maddux?
Yes.
Right, who didn't have a fire fastball or anything, but he just was so specific. I look at Yamamoto, and I see a little bit of Greg Maddux in terms of understanding where to put the ball. And he's not Maddux at this point, But if he continues to really understand placement, he's not a big, overpowering guy. And he ate the Yankees alive by literally dissecting them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, very good comparison. I have to tell you that I think Greg Maddux is one of the greatest pitchers in the history of the game.
Yeah.
And the only one who is one of the greatest pitchers in the history of the game, never throwing the ball as fast as 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's pitching almost like a varsity baseball player in high school.
That's right.
In terms of that speed, right? Like the top pitcher.
But
in a
boy,
varsity.
that varsity guy could put the ball exactly where he wanted it.
Yeah, he was
every
unhittable
time,
and very frustrating for hitters. So if you don't know who Greg Maddux is, I would definitely go and check some old video of Greg Maddux. It is unbelievable what he's done. And then of course Freddie Freeman hits another home run in Game 2, right? And
I think Freddie Freeman's home run was quite amazing. It was quite wonderful and as great as the other home run. But it doesn't change the fact that they won the game. It doesn't matter by how much. They won the game by so much that it seems as if, whoa, they just completely destroyed this other team. Actually, they won the game.
Yeah.
In extra innings.
Well, in the first one for sure they did, and the second one they didn't even need the extra innings with Yamamoto. Right. So you were dead on Yamamoto.
Oh, Yamamoto is wonderful.
Then comes Game 3, right? Now, going into this game, I have a lot of Yankee fans in my neighborhood. And they were making fun of me, saying, you got washed up, Walker Buehler. And I kept saying to them, did you see him pitch against San Diego? Because he ate San Diego up and did a phenomenal job. And I would say the first game when he had trouble with San Diego, Machado was running on the infield grass and should have been called for interference. And that mentally, I think, took Buehler out of the game because he's a guy who was injured, coming off injury, had a terrible season, has been trying to get back to his old self. But I thought I saw elements of brilliance when he was pitching against San Diego. And then when he pitched against them in the second game, he was lights out.
Yes.
And coming into the Yankee game, I thought, there's no bigger pressure. The Dodgers and the Padres really have been the big rivalry in baseball for the National League West. And they hate each other. And if there was ever a time to be the big man on campus, it was that game. And Buehler showed up. And even in the postgame talked about how this kind of erased all the pain and suffering that he had. And he just has to forget about all that stuff. So mentally, I felt like Buehler was locked in. And I would say if there's any guy when the thing is, when the stakes are high, I know it's a risky thing to say, I had a lot of faith with him going into that game. And all my Dodger friends and Yankee fans were saying he was not the guy they wanted. In fact, a lot of the Dodger friends of mine were saying that they wanted the bullpen game instead of Buehler on the mound. What do you think of what happened yesterday with the Dodgers and the Yankees and how that played out?
Well, I've got to say the Dodgers are just a phenomenal team. Now, throwing somebody out from the distant outfield is pretty darn amazing.
Oh, Teoscar Strove?
Yes.
Getting standing. Oh my gosh.
That was pretty amazing. And so that game was won as a result of great play in the field.
Yeah.
And what can I say? It's real. It was there. It happened.
On that particular play, the thing, Teoscar's throw to home plate to get Stanton, it was a bullet and directly on line. But Will Smith's understanding, the catcher's understanding that he couldn't stay behind home plate, that he had to cheat forward a little bit up the line, and not cheating in terms of illegal, but he had to move up a little bit to be able to tag him out. That combination and that understanding of field awareness of Smith, without Teoscar's rifle from left field,
right,
it doesn't happen. But I actually think that minor adjustment reminded me of Jeter when they won the World Series and he had all those amazing plays and he went to home plate. And look this up. Jeter's miraculous playoff play where he goes to exactly where the ball is going to end up and then is able to flick it over to home plate to basically save the game.
Well, I think that was one of the greatest plays ever. When Jeter did that, I thought that was beyond expectation.
It was amazing. For me, that was, I don't know that it's the same folklore of a mythological, this unbelievable, fantastical thing. But for me, in my career in watching baseball, when the stakes were on the line, that to me was the closest I've seen the Dodgers to a Jeter-esque experience. With Jeter's situation, I agree with you. It surpasses maybe any play I've ever seen on the field when the stakes are that high.
Well, it absolutely made no sense, right? This is the shortstop. Why is the shortstop running across the field on the other side of the first baseline? I mean, it literally doesn't make sense. You want to say, what are you doing, kid?
Yeah.
And it turns out that what he's doing is fielding a throw that was off and making it on.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think, there's certain players in history, Jeter's one of them, where you really can't hate Jeter.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a Yankee fan, certainly, you're going to love him. But if you're a Yankee hater, I think you still like Jeter. The way he played the game, the way that he was a wonderful teammate, his IQ, his baseball IQ, and plays like that where you maybe don't see it in the final box score and the tally.
Yes.
But that it factor or that extra edge that he brings was so obvious to the baseball fan. It's admirable.
Yeah.
The way Teoscar Hernandez plays baseball, you see the pure joy in his love for the game. He's a guy who went to the home run derby as nobody expected him to do anything.
Right.
And he walks away with $1 million and the crown for the home run derby and is just a phenomenal teammate. And when it matters, he is clutch.
You're absolutely right.
Sadly, we're gonna lose him. I don't think
You're
the Dodgers.
absolutely right.
I don't think the Dodgers.
I think that play by Jeter on the other side of the first baseline is probably unparalleled. It's something that goes up there with Ruth.
Yeah.
This is magnificent as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely magnificent.
I love that that's what you highlighted from this game. That it was the effort. And I actually think the Dodgers are making more effort in these games. And coming into the World Series, like I said, I thought it would be 6 games, and I thought the chance of the Yankees doing it was highly likely, but I of course didn't want it. But the effort that I'm seeing from these championship caliber players, I think the Dodgers are playing harder.
Yeah.
You see it in the field. In the batter's box, that's not quite the same. Everybody's trying to get a hit.
Right.
But in terms of the actual hustle, right? Even if a guy makes an error on the Dodgers, he's still scrambling trying to make it right. Right?
Right.
It's not the same. Of course, Freddie Freeman in the first inning hits another home run. 2-0, three home runs in 3 games. A guy who 6 days before the World Series could barely walk and I don't even think he played in the final Padres game because I don't know if he could walk. I can't remember if he played, but for some reason
he was terrible.
I don't think
he was in shape.
He couldn't walk,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And here he is hitting triples, 3 home runs. You know, if the Dodgers win, there's no way that anybody else is
It's quite amazing.
getting the MVP other than that guy. I want to talk about something that's really tender and really painful for me. One of my childhood heroes was Fernando Valenzuela. Fernando Valenzuela.
Oh, magnificent.
And I remember as a little boy, you know, he threw that screwball, and I remember you would be in front of the fireplace, and I would go into kind of the living room, dining room area, and I would wind up, and I would be throwing left and right, and I'd try and throw that screwball with the Nerf ball.
Yes.
And we had crazy pitching back and forth. And I love you, man. I just want to say that was so
terrific.
That was so fun to be able to have that experience with you. And my childhood hero, who passed away just before the World Series and was an icon for not only the Dodgers but for baseball in general. And I think him coming from Mexico really ushered in a great bring from the international market all these players and make it a much more global game. And he was a real ambassador for baseball, and of course was doing Spanish language broadcasts for many years for the Dodgers. But a hero who passed away, and the guy who really catapulted the Dodgers to winning a World Series when he was a young man.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I, for some weird reason, felt like, you know, I don't know how people feel spiritually, and I'm not, feeling that this. I just felt like the atmosphere and the love of Fernando was really present in this series coming in.
Huh.
And when Freddie Freeman hit that grand slam walk-off, it took me back to my childhood.
Huh.
And it took me back to that Fernando era, so that Kirk Gibson homer wasn't surprising. I actually turned to my daughter and said, I think he's going to hit a home run.
Oh.
And bam, I was filming it because I knew it. And when it went out, I wasn't surprised. I went nuts. And I went nuts just as I did as a little boy when Gibson did it. But to share that memory with you and to have it full circle in terms of me as a boy, now with my daughter watching the game and remembering the history of us doing the back and forth as Fernando and catcher in the living room, it's something special. I love you.
You're great.
I'm sorry that my Dodgers are up 3-0, but not sorry. You know, I'm hoping we can close tonight out, because I don't want to come back to LA and have to face you guys here. Plus, I don't know if I can afford tickets, and I feel like I'm going to be compelled to want to go to the game. So I love you, Puffs.
You're great.
Much love to you.
Take care.
And may the best team win. There we go. All right.
I'm proud of you and your team. Wonderful.
And I'm proud of your team. And may we do this every year. There we go.
Got it.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.